If you can write the title in there, I can.
Oh
crap, now it's going. What are you doing here? Uh-oh, I lost it. You can hear me, but I can't see. All right, we got to go back to Facebook now. Am I on? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I just couldn't see myself. Okay. So how come I can't see us on Facebook?
I'm going there right now. Down, Horsemanship.
Down.
Right there.
We're right here. Okay, everybody, we're still trying to get a hang of all of this. Hi, and welcome back to this week's podcast, Everything Horses and More. I'm Caroline Best, and you get to see my lovely co-host, Sabrina Arbogast.
Hey, guys.
Fantastic. And we usually have our dear friend Janine with us. I got to turn my turn my volume down. All right, so my volume's down. You guys are good? I heard it echo. I think there was an echo last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, turn it off.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so the reason why we want to go stream live to Facebook is for many. One, to get a broader audience so people can learn more and more about us and what we're all about. And also you get an opportunity, it's great to share the screen with Sabrina so you don't just see my face. And then, yeah, and then we've got the opportunity, this is a Q&A. So please don't be shy about writing your comments or your questions in the chat area of the Facebook video. All right, so today we're going to be talking about PTSD and horses, how to assess and how to overcome. Now, we just did a video about this for our video library, and it will be released this Friday on YouTube, a snippet of it, a teaser, so to speak. And then for all of you that are interested in learning more, please join our Everything Horses and More video library. You can go to our website, horsemanship.com, and register to sign up for the podcast or to register to subscribe to our video library. We have hundreds of videos, and they're not a sequential training, the videos. They're not in sequence. Sometimes we have part 1 through part 5, depending on what we've been filming. But there's hundreds of videos. If you like my work on YouTube, then you can find so many more dealing with a wide spectrum of horse care, horse handling, training, and riding. And then, of course, topics. We really don't get into too many topics in the video library. There's some about the spirituality of horsemanship and what it means, and obviously delving deeper. The podcasts go a little bit deeper. So that's pretty fun there. All right, so today we're going to hit it hard. I have 2 articles that I'm going to start reading, and they are articles that have been published. One was published back in 2014 with Holistic Horse Magazine. They were around for 20 years. I think they closed last year after 20 years. So I'll read that one first. And then I have a recent article as of last year, I think Christmas time, that was released in Eclectic Horseman. And it was an article again on PTSD and horses. And I was my partner, so to speak, in writing this. I did not meet her or write with her, but if any of you are familiar with Dr. Temple Grandin's work, she's a very famous woman, both on equine animal behavior, Temple Grandin, and she is a highly functioning autistic individual as well. And she's just an amazing woman. There's been a movie, and she has many books, and she teaches at the Colorado State University. So she and I were asked independently to write about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, with horses, giving our insights and our experiences. So that was really exciting. I'll read about that too. And then, of course, Sabrina and I are going to go back and forth with you all and just open this up. Now, the video that we produced yesterday dives in really deep, you guys. We're not going to get into all of that in this podcast. And when I say it dives in deep, I give you my secrets to assessing horses with trauma, all at different levels and layers, and what I do specifically as an expert in rehabilitation, how I rehabilitate them. And the point I want to really drive home today, and what I did in yesterday's video, is honestly, after working with thousands of horses like I have, and being a forever student of the horse and a forever student of what is being produced out there in my industry as an equine professional, I haven't found anybody out there. And with all due respect to Dr. Temple Grandin, we do not agree on a couple of things when I read this article. I have not found anybody out there that looks at the horse the way I do and understands what's going on and truly rehabilitates them. And the biggest difference for me is I understand the brain chemistry, and I've written articles and I've done a ton of research. I am a very learned student and very well educated through experience and study, and I'm self-taught. I do not have a degree in this, but I do have the answers, and I have a full proven method, so to speak, that allows me to assess horses and whatever behavioral issues or challenges they have, and be able to say, well, this is more of a behavioral challenge that we can easily change, or this is a deeper trauma and it's going as deep as PTSD, and it's going to take X, Y, and Z. Both X, Y, and Z mean it's going to take certain exercises, as well as it's going to take a certain length of time. I mean, I've got a proven system that allows me to very accurately assess horses and understand what they need and how long it's going to take. And the problem out in today's industry, equine industry, with all of these professionals writing books and selling you courses, and trainers out there telling you that they can fix it, 99% of them are mechanical. It's not a mechanical fix, you guys. When you're dealing with trauma as high, as deep as post-traumatic stress disorder, or even behavioral challenges, negative learned behaviors, you can't fix it through mechanics. And so often our professionals are out there just facing, flooding, overwhelming, saturating our horses until they break them down. And then they give them back to you and say they're fixed. And that's really it in a nutshell. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Very wrong.
Thank you. And I'm also the one, I've worked with these thousands of horses. Well, guess what? Those thousands of horses have thousands of owners. And you all are bringing your horses to me at a later age because you sent them to X, Y, and Z expert. And they're more screwed up than they were before. And so I know what needs to change. And it's very scientifically proven and science-based, as well as the relationship and the emotional component and the energy work that I do to restore and rehabilitate is very real. And I've got all the science to prove it. So it's not some intangible woo-woo-y esoteric concept I'm talking about. But it isn't easy. And I always tell everybody, working with horses, learning to read them, understand them, it's not easy. Don't let anybody tell you different. And it just makes me sick that so many people think they can just get out there and start training horses and working with horses, and it is not that easy. So I'm going to go ahead. Sabrina, you have anything to add, dear?
No, you are 100% correct. I mean, there's nothing really to add because what you say it like it is. So that was awesome.
I mean, we get emails all the time, comments on YouTube, our subscribers, they're like, all your horses are messed up, you guys. There isn't any horse that isn't messed up, just like a person. And until we start to really understand that consciously and bring a mindfulness to it and a self-awareness, it's like and I try not to go off on tangents, and you all know I do. It's like, until horses are seen in society across the world as a pet, until they're revered as a pet, right now they're seen and revered as livestock. Mm-hmm. So they're treated like livestock. That's why we're able to butcher them and sell them in the US for meat. So I know that in European countries, horse meat is sold all over, as well as in certain countries, so is dog and cat meat. And I know that in our country, we revere dogs and cats as pets. So that's absolutely, against the law. But until horses are considered pets and not livestock, we're not going to be able to change and shift that level of consciousness about how emotionally and socially intelligent they are. And through my research over the last 15 years and study, and it's proven, and I'm going to prove it in my articles here that have been published, there's science behind all of this. There's proven science about how closely related we are in our nervous system and in the hippocampus area of our brain. In the hippocampus area of our brain, not only do horses and humans have basically the same size of the hippocampus is in control of releasing either adrenaline or endorphin. And endorphin is the feel good, like dopamine. I think serotonin, it's a feel good drug where you relax. And of course, we know what adrenaline is. It's the cortisol, it's the hyper, it's the hormone that's in charge of keeping us alive, our self-preservation modes when we feel threatened, scared, so forth and so on. And so for horses and people, we not only share the same geographic area and size of our hippocampus, which releases these hormones, we also, horses and humans, release the same quantity of hormone. So an example would be, if I got scared, let's say somebody came crashing through, and it all depends. So I'm giving you a hypothetical example, but I'm also going to add a lot more to it. So let's just say that I'm already a pretty intense, we know I'm intense, but let's say I'm a pretty nervous, reactive person, and I'm not nervous or reactive. But let's say I have 3 qualities, and my 3 qualities are going to be just like the horses. So I'm an intense personality, nature, I'm a reactive nature, and I'm a nervous nature. Okay, both me and I have a horse just like it. That's an example right there. And somebody comes crashing through the back of these doors and windows right now. And because I'm intense, I am nervous, and I am a very reactive person, I am going to really react to that. And it's going to send my adrenaline up. I'm going to scream, I'm going to jump, I'm going to run. My adrenaline's going to go into full force all through my body. No different than the horse. Because I am an intense person, I am not nervous, I'm very calm. I practice what I preach, so I'm usually very grounded and centered. Something like that will happen, and I'll have a 3 to 6 second delay. And by the time I fully absorb what happened, 95% of me will still be pretty calm and very aware, but very calm. My adrenaline will never go all the way up to 100, like it would if I had those other qualities or traits. And the reason why is because of the work that I do with humans and horses. So you can change that. You can change the way our nervous system responds and the neurochemistry within. Okay, and the neurochemistry has so much to do with the production of either adrenaline or endorphin. It's pretty amazing. I think I just really summed that up well, didn't I? How you can change this. But you can't change it unless you know how to work specifically with the nervous system. And so often, all of our horse trainers out there overface the nervous system with you got it, girl, with too much stimulation. They think desensitizing and flooding and saturating these horses is key. And again, and we just did a video on this. Did we do the podcast on? No, we did a video for the video library about one of the equine trainers who's posting his YouTube videos Cox is his last name. It's not one of the famous Coxes.
Mm-mm.
It's an up and coming older gentleman. Don't remember his first name.
Oh, Gary?
Gary or something. Yeah. But we have a snippet of it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And then we've got the full version in the video library. He is a perfect example of thinking, because this young horse is flighty and overreactive and unsure and unconfident, that if he just keeps desensitizing it with tons of stimulation, he's gonna get it to work through. Basically, all he's doing is, remember, the horse is going to try 3 things, you guys, to get away from what it fears. And the first thing is flight. That is instinctive in horses. First thing they're going to do is try to run. When they feel trapped, like this guy holding onto the horse is pulling them all over the place, they're going to fight.
Well, if you look at the horse in the video, that poor thing, he was going all over the place.
Of course, it's dragging.
Oh my God.
And he's trying to hold it still
Yes.
while he keeps trying to desensitize it with stimuli. It's just stimuli. I can't say the horse is scared of the whip or scared of the, I don't think he had a bag or a flag.
He stopped moving around. It's like when the horse stops, he stopped. And the horse,
Yeah, but that's a whole, remember, that was a whole nother conversation. So once a horse tries flight, they're going to try fight. And when they realize they can't flee and they can't get away from you, they're going to choose the third self-preservation mode, which most horse professionals are too ignorant and stupid to realize. And that's what this horse does with this guy. The horse chooses the freeze mode. And this dumbass thinks because a horse stopped that he's getting somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
So I know. So he goes up to the horse and he's like, oh, good horse, good horse. And the horse is tense and frozen. You could bounce a penny off of it. It's so tight. It's standing here like this. You can see all the tension, the eyes. It's like, oh my God, is it going to eat me? And it doesn't mean in that second, if he did something else, that the horse wouldn't go back to flight or fight. So all people like him, and he represents 99% of the people out there in every discipline, all he's doing is wearing this horse down. Because eventually the horse is going to be either manhandled or worn out, okay? They're not stupid. But what the cool thing is in that video, and I talk about it, I think it's cool. Horses are so smart. The horse actually trains him. So he never gets anywhere. He thinks he does. He thinks he's getting somewhere, but the horse is actually training him that, okay, if I keep fighting, he doesn't stop scaring me. But when I stop, he stops scaring me. But the guy still hasn't developed trust or confidence or relaxation in the horse. And then you're going to have all this tight adrenaline and it's just as horrible. It's just a cluster, a disaster. And I'm the professional that has gotten those horses, after they've gone to trainers like him, they come to me. It's horrible. So let's talk about post-traumatic stress disorder and what do you do when your horse has it? First of all, I want to read the first article because you need to understand that there are differences in trauma, just like there are for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just because your horse is extreme about something, first of all, your interpretation or perception of it is going to be very different than mine. And that has to do with me being a professional and, putting my expert eyes on it, meaning I've got a lot of experience and a lot of skill, and I'm a lot of time spent doing this kind of work, and I'm going to look at it knowing a lot of variations, a lot of variables. So where I'm headed with all of that is, like I said earlier in this podcast, a lot of our horses really suffer from negative learned behaviors. But because those negative behaviors are out of the scope of the skill sets of the owner, meaning the owner just doesn't have the education or the skill sets to deal or change the learned behavior, you often make it worse. And then you also feel that this horse has been traumatized. So one of the things I want to drive home with everybody is I call it an emotional agility test for horses. And it's in one of my courses, my mastery membership program, but it is my way of assessing a horse. Before I ever work with a horse, they go through this test so that I can figure out who they are and what they've learned. as well as I get to see how they move and how they respond or react. And that gives me a baseline of information in which to gauge progress, obviously, but in which to know what I need to do and how to work with this horse. Now, I'm not saying that this course of mine will teach anybody to learn this immediately. When you specialize in rehabilitation like I do, it takes a lifetime. Don't you let any little cocky 20 or even 30 something horse trainer out there start telling you all about horses. It takes a lifetime. That's why the great masters in horsemanship are so well revered so much later in life, and also when they've passed. Because when you do this for a living, it's your experience that makes the biggest difference in your teaching and in your training. It's not so much your skill sets, because anybody can learn skills. We can all be good technicians. We can all learn how to mechanically work with our horse and make our horse do something. But learning the art of horsemanship is so complex. There's so many variables. Most specifically, learning the horse and then taking your time.
That's huge.
Taking your time.
Taking your time, because nobody ever does anymore.
No, nobody takes their time. Everybody wants a quick fix.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's plenty of us out there that think the same. That's why they're here with us. So this first article I wrote in 2014, and it's the March edition. You can find this on my website under resources and in articles. So I post articles that have been published, that I've written, as well as wonderful articles I've collected that help support all of these areas that I talk about all the time. I mean, there's tons. Equine intelligence, equine emotions, neuroscience, nervous system, PTSD, how the pros and cons. Well, they're all pros of going barefoot and having a natural trim, to the cons of using a bit and the damage it does on the teeth, in the mouth.
Very interesting.
It's all up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all up there. This particular article, and there's a lot you guys can gain from this, is called Traumatized Horses. Can they be emotionally and mentally healed? So back in 14, I hadn't worked with 1,000 horses yet. So I begin with, over the years, I've worked with hundreds of traumatized horses, most of whom have suffered so much emotional and mental trauma, they are left with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is a hormonal reaction to a traumatic event that lasts longer than 30 days. So the key here is PTSD happens when the horse has endured constant, daily, consistent trauma repeatedly, and it's a hormonal reaction, same as it is with humans. The amount of stress endured during the traumatic event affects the release of certain hormones that are responsible for creating the flight or fight response to stress. Both medical studies and research show that an area deep within the brain becomes damaged during these traumatic events. The hippocampus, a horseshoe-shaped structure, is part of the limbic center and is involved, limbic center in our brain, I think it's back here, in our brain, and is involved in several bodily functions, including storing and retrieval of new memories and emotional responses. During a traumatic event, both adrenaline and cortisol are released into the body to prepare us for fight or flight. They are necessary for survival. However, if these hormones remain in high concentration over an extended period, which I see too often with people desensitizing their horses, it's just done wrong, they become toxic to the hippocampus, damaging and destroying cells. And this is proven in MRI brain scans. Researchers have found that people with chronic PTSD have smaller hippocampus areas, so they actually shrink. Research shows when horses have endured a very traumatic experience and are exposed to chronic stress, their normal feedback system which is a healthy release of adrenaline chemicals, breaks down, just like ours, leading to PTSD. Horses suffering from PTSD have endured so much stress and constant adrenaline, they remain in a chemically induced state of self-preservation. And this is why we often see horses glazed over, nobody's home, I say, they're checked out, they're shut down, yet they're quiet. So a lot of uneducated horse owners or trainers think this is calm. You just think the horse is really quiet and calm. Now, when we started filming our Starting the Young Horse course this year, a few months ago, one of the 3 young horses, specifically, she's yours now, Sabrina.
Yeah.
She's a perfect example. There was so much crap that I had to work through with this 2-year-old before I felt safe enough to get on for the first time. And
then you got on her.
Well, I got on and I got on and I corrected her after it had been like the 5th day of riding.
Yeah, exactly.
It was time. She was getting, it's in the video. She was getting a little like, I just want to play around. I really don't want to focus. And I got strong with her and corrected her very, very nicely, but strong. And I knew she wanted to blow. I got off and she blew.
It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's so checked out, she was so checked out. And then the minute you brought up stimuli, she overreacted and was a very flighty horse and very defensive. You couldn't touch her without her acting like you're hitting her. It was a nightmare. But boy, she, we peeled back all those layers and release the real horse. Exposed and help, then she's just phenomenal.
She is.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's your dream horse there, girl.
Yes.
So let's get back. Let's see. So anyway, this is damaging on a chemical and emotional level when we have constant release of the adrenaline hormone. Neurologically, the horse continues to release hormones that trigger them into a constant fight or flight. It's just most of our horses end up going into the freeze mode, you guys, as their last resort. And some choose it as their first resort. You have to understand if your horse is passive or submissive. That's going to determine a lot. And most horses are passive by nature. Very few are dominant and are going to really fight you. So unless they feel really threatened, of course, it's going to be the first thing they're going to choose. But most of our horses actually do get quiet, but not the way you think. They're just shutting down and going deep within, and that's part of their self-preservation. So it has also been proven through medical studies and research that we can counteract the effects of adrenaline and cortisol, thus give the hippocampus a chance to heal. Now, in my experience, the only way I've experienced this with thousands of horses, so it's proven, is, and I talked about this in yesterday's video, and this is my way. I learned this on my own. I don't know of anybody else doing it this way, but every horse I've worked with got to a point, if they were given enough time, they got to a point where, as I put it yesterday in the video, they reset themselves. The thinking side of their brain was very well developed through my method. They were able to start thinking instead of reacting. You had the trust and confidence instilled. And as soon as you could see in them that first few seconds of, oh my God, what am I going to do? They basically replaced the adrenaline with an endorphin release. And so that's because I taught them that. And so for all of you that are like, oh my gosh, how do I help my horse through trauma? Well, first we have to identify what are they afraid of. And often all the rescue horses I've ever obtained, owned, for lack of a better word, I had no idea. I might have heard things, but I had no idea. I just knew that they reacted extremely to certain stimuli, right? To certain events, to certain situations. And you don't always know what caused it, but I know how to fix it. don't know if I need to read much more of that. Does anybody have any questions?
No, but there's an interesting comment.
Yes.
Ilanka?
Alanka?
I'm not sure I'm not saying it correct, but watching, teaching is one thing, but greatest challenge to do the right thing. I'm very careful not to try too hard, but do short and uncompleted. Do short positive works with your horse. I'm scared of making too hasty moves for mistakes.
Yeah, okay. So, that's kind of an open-ended comment, question.
Interesting.
Positive reinforcement is definitely part of, to me, all horse training and working with horses, and especially with trauma or even changing negative behaviors and repatterning the horse. It's called cognitive repatterning, and making new patterns, new habits. Positive reinforcement is #1 motivator. In horses, it's because horses are so relationship oriented, and they're passive and they're followers by nature, and they want to please. Don't let anybody tell you they don't want to please. That's part of how they get accepted into the hierarchy, especially in a herd. And so while positive is very good, that's not how you cure it. Remember, to cure really PTSD, which is very extreme, you guys, okay? To cure it, you've got to replace the adrenaline with endorphin release, and you've got to rebuild the hippocampus area. Plain and simple, but it's not that simple. So positive reinforcement, while it allows the horse to relax, which also releases endorphin, it's just one layer. You've got to get to the deepest layer, structurally, chemically, and you have to repattern the horse to a point where I said earlier, the horse resets themselves. As soon as they feel that adrenaline, their brain's been developed more, their cognitive brain has been developed more through my work, my type of training. So they're better thinkers than before. And there's many variables here. There's all sorts of things that you're developing in the horse. But the most prominent is the cognitive side being stronger, so the horse thinks more and doesn't react in their right brain. And then you're also teaching the horse how to work through those triggers, work through triggers. And so a trigger is a past memory. So anytime your horse sees something or experiences something and starts to overreact to it, that's because of a trigger. And sometimes we just have horses that don't have a lot of experience. And so we call them spooky horses or overreactive horses. But a lot of times those type of horses just don't have any experience. I don't care what age they are. They just don't have a lot of experience. And even if you have a 10-year-old, 15-year-old broke horse, so to speak, that's been out on the trails, and then, oh my gosh, I've had so many clients come to me with horses like this. Well, I bought this horse because all I want to do is trail riding, and it was supposed to be a trail riding horse. And I saw the video, or I rode the horse, and then it comes home, the drugs wear off. Yes, most of your horses are drugged to sell. Mm-hmm. And the horse wakes up, and the horse is not the horse you thought. And now all of a sudden it's scared of everything, it's unsure of everything. And that is a level of PTSD, to be honest. That means that the horse was pushed and made to, it was just overfaced and overstimulated on the trail all the time. And perhaps, yeah, that's like the most prevalent thing. Yeah, and so what happens is the horse has got a threshold on the trail, meaning, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I want to stop. I'm not sure I want to stop. That's a threshold. And the rider just pushes it, beats it, kicks it, screams at it, and forces the horse to go past that threshold. And that's how you slowly but surely damage your trail horses. You're not taught to respect a threshold, and then you're not taught how to work the horse so that the horse trusts you enough to go past the threshold. See, it's not about working the horse past the threshold like all these other trainers are telling you. It's not about that. It's a wrong thing to do. That's information. What you need to do is develop all the important areas of your relationship and your work with your horse, and then go test it on the trail. Go test it on the trail. I mean, that's like mind-blowing, I know, to a lot of people, because you're not taught that. You're like, oh my God, if your horse hesitates, just kick it, beat it,
Yes.
scream at it,
Just
run it around in a circle,
Yes.
take it away, push it past,
Mhm.
retreat, approach. It's not about the trail. And this is the same mindset and philosophy I have about every problem your horse has, including trailer loading, trail riding, bathing, crossing a stream, scary bags, tarps. It's not, don't make that issue the opportunity to teach or train. You want to know why? Because when your horse is that worked up, they're not thinking. You cannot train a closed mind, a defensive mind. You cannot, no more than you could me. Because I'm too busy being defensive and shut down and checked out, or fighting you and resisting you. Same with your horse.
Same with kids.
Yes.
I mean, we do the same thing with kids.
You beat them down.
Yes.
Damn it, Sabrina, I keep telling you not to do that.
Really?
I know, really, I know. But you guys get where I'm going with this. This is huge.
Yes.
We have to change the way we think about this. Develop all the important areas first, and then go test it. Because the horse should trust you enough and have a relationship with you and conversation and connection and confidence and be an open learner that you go, hey, it's a trailer. I know this is new to you. Or maybe you got dropped off and it was your first and only bad experience and you're like, damn, I'm not going back on there. But now that we've been doing X, Y, and Z work together, let's go test the trailer again. Or let's go test ride again. So we're going about it the wrong way. Anybody got any questions or?
No, just comments.
Comments.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. So this is my article written in 2019 by the article, the editor is Pat McKnight. It's in the Eclectic Horseman. I think it was December or November of 2019. It got published. And she interviewed both Dr. Temple Grandin and me. And I asked her, because I certainly do not have the notoriety that Dr. Grandin has, how did you find me, Pat? And she's like, well, I was doing research, and you're one of the only people on YouTube that talks a lot about PTSD. And then I went to your websites and you go in deep, especially my BodeyeWellnessCenter.com website. That's a whole nother website that goes in deep with this stuff.
Website.
Yeah, we have yet to really do anything with that. It's just sitting there. It's lots of information. So anyway, I'm just going to read mostly what I wrote, because I don't agree, like I said earlier, with a lot of Dr. Grandin's evaluations or assessments. And what I do agree with, I will include. So this article is called Training Horses with PTSD. The benefits of equine-assisted therapy from military veterans and other individuals struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder have received a fair amount of coverage in recent years. This is by Pat, the editor. However, less attention has been given to horses struggling with this disorder. Horses are not immune from the negative effects on their psyches caused by traumatic experiences. They will display reactions similar to those exhibited by people coping with PTSD. This is by Dr. Grandin. There are situations where I think animals can get PTSD type flashbacks, said Colorado State University animal science professor Dr. Temple Grandin. This may occur when they see an object that is associated with a painful or frightening experience. I agree with that. That's also called a trigger. Working to rehabilitate horses struggling with PTSD, equine behavior specialist and holistic educator, Caroline Ryder. I just got married. I'm Caroline Best now. Caroline Ryder says horses that react to objects or situations lasting longer than 30 days are likely struggling with a level of PTSD, and there's varying levels. Other indications can be, a horse will indicate something or a situation is a trigger through behavioral pattern and a level of reaction. If, this is me, if the reaction to a stimulus is extreme, there is an imbalance. And so when you're trying to diagnose what your horse has, what kind of level of trauma, or is it just a behavior more than it is trauma? So to me, there's 3 levels. There's a negative behavior, there's trauma, and then there's PTSD. PTSD is the worst. And that's what we're talking about right now, is that PTSD is an extreme reaction to something. The hardest thing for most of you is you're so used to all of these negative behaviors in your horses. You're also told traditionally, conventionally, that that's normal. Put a bigger chain on them, put a bigger bit in them, kick them, make them, do what you want. Work through it, ride through it, get back on. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you riding right now? So yeah, exactly. So we've got behavior, all sorts of behaviors we don't like, negative behaviors, behaviors that horses learned as coping mechanisms. But we've got to identify, is it a learned behavior? Is it more than that and more about trauma? Or is it the worst case scenario, PTSD? And the easiest way for me to teach you how to diagnose which one it is, or variations. Sometimes horses have a couple of bad behaviors, and then you go to work with the behavior and it becomes a bigger reaction. Okay, so this stuff is complicated, definitely complicated.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And all I'm trying to really drive home with you guys with PTSD is you can't teach when you're defensive. You guys have got to realize that when your horse is heightened and in that self-preservation mode of fight, flight, or freeze, you can't work with them. And that's what everybody's teaching you out there. They're teaching you, oh, just like this dude desensitizing his poor horse. Just keep working with it until it stops acting frightened, or make it go, or push it past. And by the grace of God, you don't get hurt. But so many of you do. And then you end up finding me because you're not getting the answers. You know something's really missing. So you can't work with them. And unfortunately, so much of our training out there is teaching you the wrong things, is teaching you to be mechanical, technical, push your horses, and desensitize the hell out of them. So I really want to drive this home to bring awareness to everyone about, you've got to be able to diagnose what your horse has, and you've got to take the time to learn what to do. It is not a quick fix. It's like Pandora's box often. You think you're dealing with one strong negative behavior or stress with your horse, and the more you try to figure it out and push, and it opens a whole can of worms. Your horse starts doing 10 other things.
And then it can get so overwhelmed.
It does get overwhelming.
Yeah, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, what happened?
So this is my advice. Y'all love horses. Take the time it deserves, you guys. Take the time it deserves. Learn, study. There are no quick fixes to any relationship. All relationships deserve time. And if you're not interested, then don't put the time in. It's not worth it then to you. But it's all about the relationship to me. And all relationships deserve time and commitment and patience and the ability to let your ego go and learn from those relationships.
Let your ego go.
No, we were just talking about my ego years ago. I mean, I always am going to have an ego, but holy cow, did I eat some humble pie with Legend back in the day. And I talk about that all the time. I thank my little Arab for allowing me to push him so hard and so wrong, and for fighting me every step of the way. Because I was like, oh my God, I really need to step back. There's something I need to learn here. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this painful. It shouldn't be this emotional for both of us. So anyway, so neurochemistry of PTSD. From her research, Ryder has discovered traumatic experiences create hormonal changes in 3 parts of the brain: the 3 memory organs located deep within the brain are the hippocampus, the frontal cortex, and I'm not going to pronounce this third one very well, the amygdala, amygdala, amygdala. So it's the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the frontal cortex. So those three memory organs are located deep within our brain and the horses. Pretty cool, huh? Mm-hmm. Researchers found the brain cells in the hippocampus of people struggling with PTSD decrease in size, resulting from the inundation of the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. The amount of stress endured during the traumatic event affects the release of certain hormones that are responsible for creating the fight or flight response to stress. While adrenaline and cortisol are essential for self-preservation with humans and horses, the hormones can be toxic to the hippocampus if they remain in high concentrations over an extended period of time. Now, I have worked with horses, including my own, especially my late Smokey, that always have triggers, okay? The triggers just get easier. It's like, I equate it to two things, none of which I've experienced, knock on wood, to this date, but I have a lot of clients. So I've heard this saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that it's just one day at a time. And each day you struggle to not go back to your addiction, but you get stronger, especially if you use your support systems through AA well. Well, it's the same with healing and recovery. Okay, with horses and people, you need your support systems, you need the right aids, the right learning experiences, you need your support. It does get better, but it never goes away. And then the other would be losing a loved one, like a child. My brother has often talked about that. He's a recovering alcoholic, my oldest brother. And he's an amazing, beautiful person. I bring that up because he's very involved in his group. He's one of their leaders. And of course, there's many parents who have lost their children and they end up drinking to hide the pain. And that's some of the things that I've spoken to him about. It's horrifying, he says, the amount of pain. But each day with correct learning and aids and supports, you get stronger. And so there's PTSD. All these people are facing trauma, and horses face it too. So you've got to have the right aids. This isn't a quick fix. You don't sugarcoat it with a lot of love and coddle it and try to protect it, the pain. You've got to expose the pain. Guess what? I just said a really hardcore word right there. You got to expose the pain in order to heal. And I have a specific way of helping to expose what the horse is afraid of and work through it until they start thinking and releasing the endorphin. And so you can heal a lot of that brain because of the ability to produce the endorphin.
That's so true.
It's in people and in horses. So according to Ryder, when horses endure an extremely negative experience and are exposed to chronic stress, their normal feedback system, such as a normal release of adrenaline, breaks down. And so what happens is, normally when you look at the science of this is for people, and I've definitely experienced this and paid attention and measured it with horses. The science behind adrenaline, when as a human we are scared or threatened, and we go from 0 to 100 with adrenaline, it shoots through our entire body, our nervous system, and it takes at least 90 seconds, a minute and a half, for that adrenaline to, not only once it's gone through our body and we're fully activated, it takes at least 90 seconds for the adrenaline to go away. All right. So where I'm headed with that is, this the feedback system for the horse. And so if the horse isn't able, once it's overly stimulated and has reached 100, so to speak, or its peak, if it isn't able to come back down and let go of the adrenaline, come back down into ease and relaxation, it's constantly in that adrenaline. Do you see that? I mean, this is really awesome common sense. And so for all of you out there that are either doing desensitizing or flooding, or you're being taught to constantly keep at it, constantly approach your horse with that scary object, stay on it, constantly, you're just flooding that horse with adrenaline. You never give the horse an opportunity to come down from it. And it's so important that they come down for so many reasons. One, if you keep them up there, you're destroying. You're just basically destroying parts of the hippocampus, especially if it's like a 30-day training and you're constantly on this horse. This is why some of these trail horses get destroyed. We can fix it, believe me, but it takes a long time. But they have to come down and they have to reach a threshold of some level of endorphin release where they feel safe, comfortable, relaxed. Again, we go back to that video with that guy. He never stops until the horse stops, but the horse has already learned if I stop, he stops. Horse is still tight. That's the biggest point I wanted to make with that video. His horse is still tight and tense. The adrenaline is still there. The only way you know, which is common sense and it's visual, is when your horse completely comes down and relaxes, lowers their head, softens their eye, relaxes their body, licks and chews, exhales, blows out their nose, maybe shakes their head, and that's a somatic release of tension. Those are the signs that tell you that there's nothing wrong with bringing your horse up to that point and helping them work through it. That's my secret. Got to learn how to help them work through it, but you've got to also bring it down. So for me, when I'm helping a horse, when I'm rehabilitating horses, I spend 75% or more bringing them down and into relaxation than I do keeping them up there.
Yes.
And it's the opposite of what everybody's doing out there. They're keeping the horse constantly up there. And even when the horse stops, the horse is still like, oh my God, I can't even breathe.
Yeah, and they can't even tell.
They can't tell. Nobody's educated. That's why I'm spending so much time talking about this. Crazy. But guess what? Guess what the great thing is about this conversation is when we talk about it, we shift our paradigm. Right here, we've raised our level of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Here we go to why I love the title of our podcast, Everything Horses and More. Now we're talking about consciousness. Just by bringing it to an awareness, talking about it, exposing it, we've just shifted. Now we can never go back without feeling guilty or really responsible. So this is good.
It is wonderful.
So, if you feel bad right now, like, oh my gosh, I feel horrible. We've all been there. We've all been taught. You can change. You can change. You can change today. You can change right now.
Absolutely.
And we're making that change just by talking about it.
And it will change.
It will change.
It will.
Oh man, are we on a movement? We are on such a movement with this. Spreading the awareness.
Yeah.
Making it a much better place for horses. Absolutely. Who have so much to offer and give. They give themselves.
Yeah.
They give so much. These big, strong, magnificent, majestic, beautiful creatures that could kill us. They don't. And look at all the harm we do to them without even realizing that we're harming them all the time. Just by the way we think about them, the way we come into their space, the way we feel, the way we handle them.
Yes.
I mean, it blows my mind because I revere the horse as such an intelligent, emotionally and socially intelligent species. And I mean, we live that life here in my farm, we girls and all my students that are taking the Mastery Membership Program specifically. I mean, you are all living this. Yes. You're discovering this.
100%. 100%.
I mean, the video that we shot yesterday is really crazy because it's about PTSD. And I had Sabrina, I said, let's just bring 4 of my horses out there who all have struggled with PTSD for various reasons. And they were mobbing us. They were mobbing me. They were hugging me. It's all on video. I mean, the whole video was constantly being interrupted with hugs, going after Sabrina, going after Janine. I mean, if I wasn't like, get out of here, or I love you, but, rubbing up on me, sharing their love. And I'm bringing that up because it just brings an awareness, because so many people would be petrified to be behind their horses the way I was, or in between horses, because the biggest point I'm making is you get to this level of consciousness and relationship, and that's what I teach, and that's what we all experience here at this table.
And what's great about it,
it's amazing,
is that this week hasn't been very easy.
It's been a really rough week emotionally.
And then to have that video and they're all over us, and we have to come on, get out. It just makes you realize they know.
They do know. And it's been a rough week because Sabrina, her beloved horse, she's gone. She's gone today. She's gone now.
She's on her way.
She's going to one of our beloved friends
in Wisconsin.
Yes, so that she can make room for the new baby, Susie. But you've had her for 7 years.
Yeah.
So heart's been hurting over that. She couldn't be happier, obviously, where she's going.
Yes.
And to make room for a new
beginning.
And then my mom's been here for almost a month, and she left this morning, and so we've been down about Mama leaving. And my mom's 84, and it's been emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And we all feel it, and it's been really awesome because my horses have been like super tuned into me and hugging me all week and pulling me in, and it's just beautiful when you have this level, because your horses consider you as one of theirs. And that's that safety that I'm always preaching and teaching in my work. That's that level of safety that you will have, because your horse is actually going to consider you and protect you. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't get any better than that, you guys. I think that's enough. You can find these articles on my website.
I have a question.
Yes. Oh, please, questions.
Diane is asking, how do we bring them back down from feeling the anxiety? Any suggestions to signal to our horses that we are not going to hurt them? Beautiful.
So first of all, Diane, I go into every time I am in a horse's space, whether I just want to be with them, groom them, or halter them up and take them into work, whatever that work is. There's a whole presence of mind and heart that I teach. So intention is powerful. How you can have a conversation with them. You can before they ever see you, you can be thinking about them that morning and talk to them in your mind and in your heart and say, I love you. I want to help you. I'm going to do the best to help you. And, I may make mistakes. Horses love honesty and authenticity. A lot of people ask me often, Caroline, when I'm in a really bad mood or I want to cry, I'm afraid to take it to my horse because they are so affected by it, and it makes them really scared. Well, your horses, you can still do that. I do it all the time, but you've got to have this language. You've got to have this relationship with them where they don't make it personal. And of course, it's a trigger at the same time, because any human, obviously, that's come into their space with a high energy or emotion, it's not been positive. And I know that for a fact because I've worked with so many babies and young horses who are not damaged or tainted. And they're as open and free as a young child. And so they're just so curious and open. We're the ones that damage them. So think about your intention, think about your heart. I teach how to ground. I teach all of this way of being energetically, and then how to carry it into the actual work, and the movement and the riding is one. So yes, when I'm working with trauma and helping the horse work through it, I am talking to them. I am grounded, even when I'm in that big action with them and helping them work through it, or they're pulling me all over and I'm going with it. I am grounded. I'm talking to them. I'm really clear about, I'm here for you. It's powerful. It's so powerful. So it sounds, that's the first level and layer that we all need to reach, but it is unfortunately more complicated than that, because so often we get triggered or we get scared or we question ourselves, and then the horse doesn't trust you because it's got confused messages, mixed messages. So it's a practice. It's a real practice. God love all of you that want to help your horses. I do teach all of this on my online courses. So, you know, we just released Starting a Young Horse, but it's also for any horse that you want to restart, because
Absolutely.
unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 young horses have so much baggage by the time they come, as an 8-month-old and 2-year-old, that I have so much work to work through. So this course, Starting the Young Horse, is a lot cheaper than my Mastering Membership program, which is the big baby. That teaches you how to start your horse, restart your horse. It teaches you everything. Any more? I hope I answered that.
No.
So yeah, it's pretty powerful, bringing your intention and your energy and your heart chakra. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Love you guys. May you always be one with your horse. Yep. Mwah. We will see you next week. Just putting it out there, we have a webinar every month. We do a webinar for my Mastering Membership program, just like this. So we're going to be talking about the program tomorrow on the Tao of Horsemanship through Zoom. For all the people, we are always promoting it. We're pioneers. This is a movement. So for anyone that is looking to learn this amazing way, this relationship, and learn how to ride as one and feel safe and be able to do all your whether it's trail riding or upper level dressage. So
huge.
yeah, it's huge. We're going to be talking all about it and taking questions and Q&A tomorrow, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, so be there.
And if not, we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Thank you. All right. So as soon as I can hit it, and yeah, not ending. It never works that easy for me. Oh my gosh, I'm like, stop video.